Hello, and welcome to today's live Writer's Digest webinar titled How to Launch a Well-Paid Writing Career in 60 Days or Less with freelance copywriter Mindy McHorse. Mindy McHorse is a freelance copywriter who serves as the executive editor for Barefoot Writer magazine. Mindy was the original reality blogger for the Wealthy Web Writer and chronicled her real-life journey of going from 24K to six figures in just 1 year as a freelance writer. With 3 young children, Mindy considers herself a full-time mom who's lucky enough to make an impressive income on the side. She hails from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where she writes with a full mountain view and with her 3 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels always close by. Also joining us today is Katie Yackel, one of the co-founders of AWAI, the company that publishes Barefoot Writer. She'll be behind the scenes answering your questions during Mindy's presentations in the question box. And at the end, she's going to moderate a Q&A with Mindy, asking her as many of your great questions as possible. And with that, I'm going to turn it over and let Mindy begin her presentation. And I won't jump in unless you need me to.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And hi, everybody. I am so glad to be here. Welcome to How to Launch a Well-Paid and Wildly Satisfying Writing Career in 60 Days or Less. And listen, I have a lot I want to talk to you about, so let's just dive right in over here. Okay, so basically today we're going to cover the whys, whats, and hows of how to launch a well-paid writing career. And I will especially focus on copywriting. I want to explain why copywriting plays a crucial role in this and why it comes easy for writers. We'll also talk about what copywriting is, because a lot of folks are pretty unclear on it, and most importantly, we'll talk about how to get it right if you want to launch a paid writing career. Also, please stick around to the end because I have a special tip I want to share with you that will help you get up and running as a paid writer as quickly as possible. So, first, before I dive into the rest of the presentation, though, I do want to quickly touch on a lot of the common questions I get asked throughout presentations like these. And I want you to know I'll do my very best to address every single one of these throughout the presentation. And then I believe we'll have a chance to cover some live questions at the end. But here's some of what I'll go over. Things like, what industry should I write for? How do I approach them? What will I be writing? Can I do this part-time? How much can I earn? How do I set fees? Do I need experience? What about a portfolio? Can I live in another country? What software is required? Where can I learn more? Okay, so we will touch on those things. But again, if I don't fully address your question, then feel free to bring it up at the end, and I'll appreciate it. Okay, now before we talk more about copywriting, I want to give you a glimpse of the wide variety of lifestyles copywriting as a well-paid writing career can bring you. So here are some of my fellow barefoot writers. All of them are working writers. Right now you should be seeing a picture of Patty Morrow. She's a seasoned travel writer, and she's seen here skydiving over Maui. That was actually a paid writing trip. Here's Joe Lilly, who writes for the B2B market from his home in Texas. He works on his laptop in the mornings while his daughter plays at the park. Kristen Dalton, who lives in Florida, she did some copywriting that actually saved the dance studio where her daughter practiced, which is pretty neat. Karen McCauley, who also lives in Florida, she likes to do her writing from Singer Island. Check out that view in the back. She writes for the employment industry. She has a great story. She taught her daughter how to do copywriting work, and her daughter, who's a single mom, was able to earn enough money for a down payment on her first house, which is just a heartwarming story. I also love reading and learning more about Tim Cotroneo. He's a fellow copywriter and a travel writer. He gets a lot of his vacations comped. You can see him here pictured in Turks and Caicos. And then there's Carlene Anglais Cole, pictured here with her husband, Mickey. She's one of my favorite people. She's a prominent, well-known writer for the health industry, and she's made 6 figures many years running. I think she's even hit 7 figures a couple of years, right here in this picture there on vacation in South Africa. And here's Serena Behe. Her husband was deployed, and she was chained to a really strict schedule of the job, but she looked into copywriting, and now she's able to write and travel with her husband. So I'm showing you these pictures just because I want you to know all kinds of people can fit into this lifestyle and make it work for them. And I will introduce you to more writers and show you other options throughout this presentation. Although I do want to tell you a little bit more about my story, let me tell you how I got started in copywriting. Essentially, I've always loved writing. It was always my hobby. I'm actually a longtime Writer's Digest subscriber, so it's a real honor to be here talking to all of you. But I'll admit, I didn't think I could write for a living. I didn't want to live on beans, and I had that stereotype that writers couldn't make a great living. except for the very rare few. So I took the typical school route. I got a great job, but I had no freedom, and I ended up working a long schedule. I had limited vacation time. I really didn't love my boss. You know the story, right? A lot of you can probably relate. So the first problem was that I never got to see my fiance, who's now my husband. He worked shift work at the time, and we were like ships passing in the night for a year. The second problem was that I never got to see my puppies. And if any of you know anything about Cavalier King Charles Spaniels, they are people dogs. They need to be with people all day long. So I reached a breaking point, and I decided I needed a change. I decided I was going to leave my job. And as I was looking into other career options, this thing called copywriting came up during my job search. So my initial thought was, no way, that can't be true. That's too good to be true. But then I researched it. Every claim that I had read turned out to be true. So I jumped in. And you know what happened? Absolutely nothing. Because at the time, there was a lot I didn't know about getting started, writing for a living, working from home, charging fees, and all of that. So fortunately, I reached out to AWAI. I was able to network with fellow writers. I was able to learn about copywriting, practice it. I was able to work with some other writers who gave me feedback and who referred me to different projects. And eventually that led to me starting this thing called the Reality Blog that I launched through the Wealthy Web Writer site. The Reality Blog was looking back, kind of a crazy endeavor, because up to that point I had only made $24,000 as a copywriter, but I'd met people who had hit the six-figure mark. I was committed to hitting the six-figure mark, and I wanted to do it. So I chronicled every week what I did, what went right, what went wrong, how I got there. And by the end of the year, I did it. I broke six figures. So it was a monumental year for me. And at the time, making a lot of money was really important because for me, it justified my leap from the business world and from my safe job. And it gave me the freedom and the income and the writer's life that I'd always wanted. So it's pretty great. These days I have total freedom, although a couple of things have changed. For instance, I now have 3 little kids at home. You can see them here in our backyard giving a little concert. And because of that, my goals have changed. My goals are no longer focused on income, but rather on lifestyle, because now I want to be available for my kids when they need me. So let me address the six-figure question, because I can tell you firsthand it's possible. So hopefully, let's see, if I cut out on the last slide, I was just telling everybody that this picture up on the screen, this is my new life, my new reality is 3 little kids who are very sweet but very needy. And because of that, my goals are no longer focused on income, but instead on lifestyle, because I want to be there for them anytime they need me. So when you think about the six-figure question that a lot of copywriters talk about, I can tell you it's absolutely possible, but what's more important when you're thinking about using copywriting as your tool to achieve a well-paid writer's life is that, yes, you can earn a lot of money, but more importantly, you can build a satisfying life. So yes, you can work at the beach, you can work poolside, and do I do that? Sometimes, absolutely, but for the most part, I work from home. And you can see here's my youngest. Often my kids can be found in my office at all hours, and that's just great. Well, it's great most of the time. Some of the times my door really has to be locked so I can hit a deadline. But what's really been fantastic is that I haven't had to give up my writing, because that has always been my love, but I'm also totally there for my kids and my family. So the main reason that I do this is that it gives me a ton of freedom along with a lot of extra income. So that brings us back to our first topic. Why is this something that writers in particular would want to do? I believe that if you ask most people what they want in life, they'll tell you they want time, and they'll tell you they want money. That's because they want time to follow their passions and go places with people they love, and then they need the money to fund those things. But what it really boils down to is freedom. And what I want you to understand today is that copywriting absolutely gives you both in ample amounts. And for writers in particular, they make the best copywriters, because as a copywriter, you're still telling stories, you're crafting words. You are not working in a legal office like some people oftentimes mistake copywriting for. And a lot of people also get copywriting mixed up with salesmanship. Now, there is an element of that, but at the end of the day, you're writing for a living. The type of writing, it varies. The industries you write for, they vary. But what happens is you adapt copywriting to the project you're interested in. So it's kind of like a pro golfer. They adapt to different courses, but the root of their craft is still the same. Although I want to emphasize that copywriting is a different kind of writing than what most of us grow up doing. it's a complement, if you will. So if you currently write fiction or even nonfiction, copywriting is a great exercise for your brain. It's kind of like cross-training for your mind. In fact, it's really a great way for fiction writers to earn a steady income and practice their craft while putting together a novel or putting together a marketing platform. In fact, here's a photo of a good friend of mine, Heather Robson. She's a very successful copywriter. She also has 2 fiction books out with plans for more books. And what separates her from other fiction writers is her marketing knowledge, because perhaps you're familiar with this, the 3 areas where fiction writers often fall short is discipline, consistency, and self-promotion. So copywriting essentially teaches you all that. So now let's go over some of the different types of copywriting jobs you can make money from, because this is also a very common question. I know I want to be a copywriter, but what am I going to write? So I want you to know that all of these are serious money-making opportunities once you've basically mastered the craft of persuasive writing, which is copywriting. So you can get into basic freelance writing, web writing, emails, autoresponders, blogs, white papers, ebooks, ghostwriting, social media campaigns and posts, internet research, grant writing, case studies, resume writing, speech writing, SEO content, e-newsletters, video scripts, lead generation. And in fact, this is not a completely exhaustive list. There are other opportunities, but these are probably the main ones that most copywriters focus on. So when people ask me what I will be writing, I like to say, really, you can write anything you want to. Some copywriters are able to offer all of these as their services. Some copywriters I know focus on 1 or 2 of these different types of writing as their services. But these are essentially the most popular areas to specialize in. So more on why this applies to writers in particular, mostly because you get to immerse yourself in the love of words on a day-to-day basis. But if that's not your driving focus, then also know that in a way, copywriting actually applies to everybody, because along with using copywriting to help to further your other writing interests, you can also use it to promote any business or hobbies that you have that you really want to focus on or get more attention for. This picture that you see right now is of Melanie Rembrandt. She's a successful copywriter, but she came in through the back door. She got into public relations first, launched her own business, and then wrote copy to promote her business and became very successful because of it. This picture is Brian Oxner, a fellow copywriter, who started out working in sales and finance. He loves finance, but he doesn't like working for other people, so he left that field and became a copywriter for the financial market. Here's a picture of a copywriter named Rick Boatwright. He's actually a veterinary chiropractic doctor. That's his main business. But he writes copy to promote that business. Which brings us to the burning question I'm sure many of you are wondering about right now, which is, okay, what is copywriting specifically if we had to sum it up in 5 words, right? Persuasive writing that prompts action. So really, you see examples every day in your mailbox, online, and via email. Essentially, anything that is asking you to take action. Here are a few examples, and I want to show you. This is a very broad generalization, but it should help bring everything to life for you. For example, on the left, you see a picture of an Omaha Steaks ad. On the right is a fruity hair product, right? But if you zero in on the copy, the Omaha Steaks ad is actually featuring a call to action. It says call. It's got a phone number. It's got a website. It says use this keyword. Basically, contact us. The other ad is essentially just that. It's an ad. They do have a website there. You might consider that a call to action, but it's not a very strong one. It's not necessarily strong persuasive copy. So when you're looking to, if you're trying to split hairs and you're looking to separate copywriting from basic writing or basic advertising, you need something that has a call to action, that prompts emotion, that stirs people to get up and do something, whether that's calling or filling out an order form or signing up for an email list. Okay? Another way to explain copywriting is anytime you take a good idea and you promote it, kind of like, let's say you want a good friend to go see the movie that you want, and you work hard and you persuade them to see your preferred movie as opposed to theirs. That's basically what you do as a copywriter. It's persuasive writing. Here's what it's not. It's not sitting in an office with a suit on, hunched over a computer, although granted, you do spend a lot of time at your computer. But it's a very colorful lifestyle in contrast to that. For example, this is a fellow I know, Ed Eslow. He's a copywriter, and he actually started out in life as an engineer, but he wanted to change. He did not want to go into sales, And he actually turned his attention toward mechanical watches, which have always been a passion of his. And so he learned about copywriting. And now, I think this is so great, he writes for the luxury timepiece market. Who knew that that was a niche you could focus all your attention on? But that's what he does. And he's built a lifestyle he wants, so he's able to go trout fishing in the middle of the week to avoid the crowds. And the last time I talked to him, he was getting into travel writing. He actually sent me this picture. He calls it his Mexican branch office. Let's talk next about the qualifications you need. Okay, because this is another place where people get hung up. How can I be a copywriter? I haven't studied it, or I've only done this all the rest of my life, or I'm actually retired now. That's okay. You know, what you don't need is experience. You don't need a degree. What you do need is motivation and persistence. Okay, for example, here's my friend Ray Robinson. She's in the graduate gown there in the middle of the picture. She graduated a couple years ago from college, got a great degree, couldn't find a job that matched her degree to save her life. You know, it was a tough economy a couple years ago. So instead, she went into copywriting. She had absolutely no experience. She learned from the ground up, and now she's basically a very successful copywriter who writes from wherever she wants, and she's doing very well. Another example is my friend Jen Adams. She's got a funny story. She was a writer. She was working as a freelance writer in Nebraska. She got bored with Nebraska and just picked up and moved to Ecuador, which she could do because copywriting is so versatile and flexible, and you can do it from anywhere. Really, all you need is a computer and a reliable internet connection. And generally, if you have a question about software, Microsoft Word is typically the only software you need. So as Ray and Jen are great examples, and even Ed from the last slide, you can do this full-time, part-time, from wherever you want, whenever you feel like it. It all comes down to your own needs, essentially. Oh, sorry, here's one more picture of Jen in Ecuador. I think she's by some Inca ruins there. Okay. Let's talk about why it's a stable career move, because another leading hesitation is, you know, I'd really like to do this, but I have a family to support, or I have these other obligations. How do I know that this is going to work out for me? In a word, freelancing these days is stable, and especially freelance copywriting. You can go all out full-time, but you don't have to. Part-time is fine. Again, it comes down to what your needs are and what your particular interests and financial goals are. But it's stable for a lot of reasons. For starters, freelancing is actually becoming a very common thing because you have to consider that 40% of America's workforce will actually be freelancing by 2020. This blows my mind. That's from a study by a software company Intuit. If you think about it, that's more than 60 million people. And more importantly, like Forbes magazine pointed out not too long ago, the number of freelance workers is soon going to outpace the full-time workers. So pretty neat if you're thinking about becoming a freelancer. But here are the reasons behind it. First of all, workplace flexibility and telecommuting, they have a lot to do with it. But the fundamental nature of the work itself is what's so appealing, because workers from all different industries are basically finding out that they can be productive outside of a corporate office and without a long-term employer. Because let's face it, we're not built to work all day in cubicles. And what's nice, especially if you're a writer, is that there's no longer a stigma that self-employed people can't get a real job. It's just kind of like there's no longer that stigma that self-published people couldn't really write. You know, tell that to Amanda Hawking. So self-employed people, especially now self-employed writers, they have a ton of flexibility and control over their income and their lives. And opportunities are exploding across all industries, especially in writing, thanks to the internet. So let's say you have a dinner party for 10 people on a weeknight, 10 friends. At least 4 of your friends are going to be able to come and stay for pie and cocktails because they won't have to worry about getting up to commute and clock in the next morning. And, you know, let's face it, it'd be nice to be one of them, right? So let's say, yes, it's stable. I want you to know that. But remember, and this is very key, a lot of that does depend on you because as a freelancer, you are the one steering your own ship. You're not being told what to do. So freelancing is stable because you're never without options. As long as you are constantly steering your ship in a direction, then you will never be without directions to turn. For example, let's think about a pilot, right? Let's say a pilot loses his job, unfortunately. Now, he can teach, but there's not much else he can do without a plane, right? In contrast, as a writer, as a copywriter in particular, if my clients were all to cut ties with me today, I have about 24 other directions I could go. You know, it's kind of like shoring up your basement for a tornado and stockpiling, I don't know, endless rows of canned goods. You never run short of the basics, so you'll always survive. Now, on the other hand, a lot of other professions, they don't even have basements. And here's a picture I wanted to share with you, speaking of tornadoes. This is Steve Coombs. He's a copywriter who specializes in writing about disaster preparedness. Again, another niche that I never would have thought of, but he's doing very well in it. So know that there are lots of versions of copywriting, full-time, part-time, in-house, working for yourself as a client, or freelancing. It's all up to you. Now, the next question I want to address is how to decide what to write. So here's how you choose a writing specialty that you'll enjoy for years to come. Just try a few. Pam Foster, she's a great example, very successful copywriter. She's now a speaker and an author. She started out as a copywriter for the business-to-business market, did very well, did lots of different projects. But then she sat down one day and thought about what she really loved and what she was passionate about. And her answer was her dog, Louie. So Pam started writing for the pet market. And now she is the go-to copywriter for all things veterinarian and pet related, and she's able to write about something that she loves every day. So when it comes down to deciding what niche to focus on, what kinds of things to write, because you want this to be a career excuse me, that you can really enjoy on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to writing things that that you can't just get into, the best place to start is to just think about things that you love to do. Think about things that inspire you, things that you have experience in. Maybe make a list and then go check out those industries. Because when it comes down to looking for an industry that you'll specialize in, you want an industry where commerce happens. Basically, anywhere that money is exchanging hands. So let's say top on your list of things that you love reading about and studying, or maybe you have a background in teaching. Maybe let's say you list education. Okay, how do you write for the education niche, right? Start by thinking about the websites that teachers go to, for example. What do they buy? What groups do they belong to? And threaded within those answers are opportunities for copywriting. Okay, so how do you find clients? Let's say you've picked an industry, but you're not sure where to go next. How do you find people actually willing to pay you? You've got to start by connecting with the right people in the right places. I am a big fan of Boot Camp, for example. That is an annual conference put on by American writers and artists, partly because it's a place that you can go meet other copywriters and other people making a really great living as writers, and it's always powerful to network with people who understand exactly what your heart is after, but also because that's a great place to find hiring marketers. When you go basically to the watering trough, that's going to improve your odds immensely. Plus, if you start networking with other writers, you never know what other connections they have, what their past clients or past employers were like, and they can refer you often to other projects. I've gotten so many clients through referrals from people I met at writing conferences like Boot Camp. Another great place is a dedicated jobs board for copywriters in particular, not just the jobs board for writers, because there are far too many people out there who undervalue writers and they think a freelance writer is just somebody who can string together a grammatically correct sentence. That's not true for copywriters. Copywriters who understand the art of persuasive writing are extremely valuable to businesses. They're worth extremely high fees, and that's why they can make so much money. So AWAI runs a jobs board called directresponsejobs.com. That's also a place where I landed quite a few jobs when I first started out, and many of them turned into long-term clients. One other thing that I'd like to recommend, you see in this picture, the woman on the left is Marianne Foscarini. She is a successful copywriter for the Christian market, and she's standing next to her good friend, Maggie Cooper. The two of them formed, along with, I don't remember how many, but along with a group of other copywriters, they formed a support group several years ago when they met at boot camp. And now they network with each other, they connect with each other on a regular basis to give each other feedback on their writing projects, to offer support, to help each other find clients, and that's been a really strong resource for all of them in terms of getting their careers up and going. Okay, let's talk more about putting yourself out there. Let's, in fact, get a little more specific. So aside from going to places where you can find hiring clients like Boot Camp, the other things you want to do are get an online presence out there. And honestly, LinkedIn is the best way to go. It's free, it's easy. Put your LinkedIn profile up at a minimum. When you start connecting with clients, that's often the first place that they're going to go, because it's sort of like having an online resume. That's where people want to sort of check you out. You can also put up a professional website. I highly recommend this, but don't worry about doing it right away. You can wait until you feel comfortable or until you worked with a couple clients and you have a portfolio put together, because I think putting up a professional website tends to intimidate a lot of people. I know it absolutely scared me before I put one up, but know that you can wait a little bit as long as you've got your LinkedIn profile up, and then eventually put one up. And it's okay if it's static. Just have 4 or 5 pages that explain your services and your background and what you offer as a writer. Now, if you get a little more comfortable, you might add a blog to your website, or you might start reaching out with social media. The bottom line is that you need to do what's comfortable, because if you're not doing what's comfortable, then you're not enjoying this lifestyle, so there's really no point. Some people, for instance, are fine with cold calling. They pick a company and they say, I'd like to work for you. They call them right up and they make that connection. That is not my personal approach. Right? So I don't do that, but I've still been able to be successful. So the bottom line is do what's comfortable. And above all, stay focused on your long-term goals, because if you get too wrapped up in these little details, like putting up a website, then it's very hard to stay focused on building that lifestyle and that income that is propelling this career change for you. I apologize, everybody. You can tell that, one, I get very excited about this because this lifestyle has really changed my life and that of my families. And 2, I do tend to be a naturally fast talker. So when I get on the phone, which is actually kind of rare these days, I think I get a little overexcited. I apologize. That's all right. Let's focus on the money part, and I will remember to breathe. So I apologize again. A big question that people bring to me is, how soon can I expect to earn money? And honestly, there's no cut and dry answer, because there's no cut and dry direction for any one writer. So it depends on your goals, it depends on what you want to write, and it depends on how you use your time. For example, if you are in the midst of a full-time job and you're trying to back your way out, maybe you can only write and study copywriting 2 to 5 hours a week. Then it's going to take you a little bit longer, obviously. If you are able to make the transition and maybe take 3 months and just dive in and roll up your sleeves, then it's going to happen faster. But the bottom line is, as long as you stick to it, it will happen. As to how much you can earn, it really depends on what you write, how much time you spend doing it, and how dedicated you are at the end of the day. For example, I know a teacher who loves her day job. She doesn't want to quit teaching, but she doesn't make a lot of money. So she uses copywriting to supplement her family's vacation budget, which is pretty neat. She only writes on the weekends, but she earns about an extra $20,000 a year, so her family can take nice vacations. And then there's another woman I know. This is really great. She just switched to full-time copywriting last February, and by the following October, so not even a full year, she'd hit the 6-figure mark. So you really, you have to do what's right for you, but it also helps to know where to find the real money-making opportunity. And before I switch slides, I just want to show you really quickly. This is a friend of mine, a fellow copywriter named Cindy Davis. She's one of the few who really does sit out by her backyard pool in her pajamas and work on her project. Cindy actually started out, I know for a while she worked in the chocolate industry, writing copy for chocolate companies, which must have been a great time. Now she focuses on the mental health industry, and she's doing really, really well. I'm so happy for her. So more on profitable writing paths. You need to know that some industries are more profitable than others, like financial, for instance, is a very profitable industry. B2B, business to business, is very profitable. If you want to write for the nonprofit industry, great, beautiful opportunity. You're not going to make as much money, and that's okay, because maybe you're doing it because it's your passion or you get the intrinsic value from it. But just know that some industries are worth more than others, and some types of projects are also worth more than others. For instance, a sales letter can earn you anywhere, depending on length and experience, it can earn you anywhere from $2,000 to $20,000. Other things like emails, they're shorter. They'll be maybe $300 to $500 in email. And again, depending on the type of email you're writing, the length of email, and the industry you're writing for. So the next question, naturally, is how do you set those fees in the first place? I want you to know there's no hard and fast list of fees that copywriters use. So the best way to set your fees is to network. Know which questions to ask your hiring client. For instance, when you first meet a client, they say they'd like to work with you. Know how to talk to them about their budget and how to ask what they're looking for in a copywriter. Join professional copywriting associations to get access to fee structures. Specialize, for instance. If you specialize in certain profitable writing projects, then you're bound to get more writing fees, such as, like I mentioned, sales letters, anything that gets you royalties. Sales letters get you royalties, or other projects like ebooks or things that have a long-term reward plan, long-term retainers. Those are very popular with copywriters. So I know that's not the answer that anybody's looking for, because it would be so much easier if I could just hand over a nice fee sheet. But I'm afraid nothing exists like that. And, you wouldn't necessarily want to stick to one like that, because let's say one client has deep pockets and they're willing to pay you 3 times what you see on another copywriter's fee list. You want to know how to navigate fee structures based on clients and industries first. So you can find that out by networking and learning about copywriting. Let's talk about how to put together a portfolio, especially if you're coming into this industry brand new. There are lots of ways to do it, but I want to emphasize, don't stress about it. This can be a big stress point with people if they have no samples to show a potential client. It doesn't need to be, because there are lots of ways that you can put together your own portfolio even before you have a client. One approach is to write on spec. So this is when, let's say you know the client that you want to write for, and they have a product, and so you go ahead and you write something about it. Maybe you write an article about it that could potentially appear on their blog, or maybe you write an email about it that could potentially go out to their customers. You send it to them. You say, I know you haven't formally hired me, but I wanted to show you an example of what I could do for you. And if you like this, then my fee is such and such, or maybe we can work out an agreement. So sometimes you can write on spec, the client will love it, they'll pick it up, and they will hire you, and it's a great story. Other times, you can write on spec, and even if the client doesn't need it, you can still use that as part of your sample. You can also write samples for people you know. Maybe your next door neighbor runs her own business. Offer to write her some kind of sales copy in exchange for a testimonial, because then not only do you get a testimonial, but you have another sample for your portfolio. And you can even include previous work, even if it's from a past career. This is one of the things that I did when I first started. I had written a 4-page newsletter for the university department where I worked at the time, and I was able to put that in as a sample for a potential client, and it worked. I got hired. So bottom line, don't stress about this. Okay, let's add some bonus tips here on how to turn your projects into a long-term career. First of all, be easy to work with, especially because most of the time you're going to be telecommuting. You're going to be working from wherever you choose. So a lot of your communication is done over email. Make sure you're polite and courteous and easy to work with. Nobody wants a demanding business partner, right? It's also good to be the idea person. So maybe you work out an agreement with a client, you write them 3 emails, you get paid. It's fantastic. But the best next step is to go back to them with 3 more ideas for 3 more emails. That's how you keep your writing career going. You become the idea person. It saves your client from having to think, and then it buys you ongoing work. Turn things in on time, basic good rules for being a freelancer. Welcome feedback, which is sometimes, let's face it, a little hard for us writers because we can get very personally connected to our writing. But one thing I've learned as a copywriter is that feedback will only make your writing stronger. So always welcome it. All right. Okay, now let's dive in to how to get started. Let me tell you what you do first if you're serious about launching a well-paid career as a writer. It sounds very easy, but the first step is to simply decide you're going to do it. Because a lot of people will decide, this sounds great, I want to do it, I'm excited, but they don't actually make that mental decision that they're going to go for it. So just decide that you're going to do it. And now, second, I'm going to give you your 60-day plan, and then we'll talk about a shortcut to getting clients. But overall, I want you to know that you can always reach out to us, even if you're on the fence or you're not quite sure, you still have some questions. You can always reach out to us here at the Barefoot Writer. You can even reach out to some other experts that we often network with, or that, lots of experts that I admire and other copywriters admire, like Bob Bly, Dan Kennedy is one, Michael Masterson. At the end of the day, who should you ignore when it comes to launching your writing life? Ignore the doubters, because there will be plenty of people, I know them still, plenty of people who say, you can't make that much money as a writer, or what do you really do for a living? Just ignore them. It's okay. You'll make friends with other writers and they understand what you're doing, and you've got this great circle of support, and then you're good. And they're also the ones that you reach out to for help. Okay, so let's dive into our 60-day plan to launching a paid copywriting career. Here you go. Let's go over it. Week 1, learn how to write persuasively. So this is actually the heart of it all. Persuasive writing is your ticket to making a lot of money as a writer. It's what separates you, like I said, from those nice writers who can string together pretty grammatical sentences. Learning how to really hit upon the emotions that prospects and customers might have is what separates you in terms of fee structures from somebody who might make just a few pennies per word versus thousands of dollars for everything they turn in. Learn how to write persuasively, and the heart of that is copywriting. Next, choose the projects you want to write. So start exploring all those different projects that I listed at the beginning of the presentation. Learn more about ebooks and autoresponders, emails, blogs. How do they work in the overall world of communication? What is their purpose? What types of industries use them for different purposes? And then decide which ones appeal to you most. Some people like really long writing projects, where you get hired on for one project but it takes you 3 months because maybe it's a 50-page ebook. Some people like really short projects, like a 300-word email. Decide what you want. All right, then launch yourself online. At least put your profile up on LinkedIn, and then when you're ready, start branching out to a professional website. Look into your 20 dream clients. So this involves thinking about what you really love to write about, the niches, the industries that you're most passionate about, or where you have experience or where you have contacts. Look into where commerce is happening within those niches, and then target the clients that most appeal to you. A lot of people will take this step and they'll look at clients who have bare bones websites and have barely any copy up there. And yes, you can approach them, but in a lot of times that's a red flag for somebody who doesn't really value copy. What's actually better is to target the clients who have really fantastic websites with lots of copy, and they put out lots of articles and blogs and emails, because they're the ones who already value copywriters and who are likely to pay you well for what you do. Then reach out to those clients. This goes back to doing what you're the most comfortable with, whether it's cold calling if you have that kind of drive, or whether it's working through referrals or working through a job board or going to a live event like AWAI's Bootcamp. And then practice writing. Write every day, write and get feedback, network with other writers who can critique your work, critique their work, because you can learn a lot by looking at somebody else's stuff. And then, of course, follow up, because remember, not always are editors or clients able to answer your emails or your queries right away. So follow up in a week's time, then 2 weeks' time, respectfully, diligently, and this will happen. Okay, so if you are ready to launch your paid writer's life, I want to encourage you to learn more and get support and resources you need through our Barefoot Writer Club. That is the group of people that I reached out to who essentially helped me get my feet on the ground that year that I did the reality blog and helped me really start earning a solid income. You can learn more if you go to www.thebarefootwriter.com/writers-digest. And there's actually a great deal right now. It's 50% off. If you do want to get involved in the Barefoot Writer Club, you'll find there's a 12-month subscription to our Barefoot Writer magazine, and our next issue is coming out this Friday, actually. I'm so excited about it. We even have an interview with Ann Handley, who's a fantastic content marketer and has some really great stuff to share. You get access to our members-only Facebook group where I'm on there quite a bit. Lots of new writers put out their questions. You get feedback and support pretty much instantly, because a lot of copywriters, let's face it, are on Facebook all the time because they're at home and they're right there and able to do it. You get access to special reports that give you insider, fast-track information to a lot of the most lucrative writing industries. And very key, you get a private login to the AWAI jobs board, directresponsejobs.com, which, as I mentioned, is one of the places that helped me get launched and led to some long-term writing contracts. So, again, I apologize for cutting out and talking too fast, but I want to thank you for sitting through this and to encourage you to learn more. You can also listen to more of my story if you go to www.thebarefootwriter.com/writers-digest, or you can send me questions directly. You see my email address down there. And you can connect with us at the Barefoot Writer. All right, so thank you, everybody, for listening. And Katie, I guess I'll hand it over to you for questions.
Okay, thanks so much, Mindy. And why don't you just go over those links one more time and nice and slow?
Okay, sure. You can learn more about the Barefoot Writers Club and more about my personal story at www.thebarefootvwriter.com/writers-digest, and there is a special 50% off deal right now that I think is good for the next 3 days. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. You can also contact me directly at askmindy@thebarefootwriter.com or learn more about The Barefoot Writer by going directly to our website, thebarefootwriter.com.
Fantastic. Okay, let's answer some of these questions now. People want to know if your reality blog is still available.
You know, it is, and thank you for asking. It is. You can find it on the if you go to the website, wealthywebwriter.com, it's available through there, but that is a membership-based website. It's a fantastic website. I'm actually still a member because it gives you a lot of insider information on specific web writing opportunities and all the changes in online writing and, you know, how to sort through things like Google Analytics and how to understand search engine optimization. So there's a membership required, and I believe all of my reality blog posts are behind the membership, but I also believe they offer a 30-day, Katie, you might correct me on this, but I think there's a 30-day trial period.
Yep.
So anybody who wants to take advantage of that, I highly, highly recommend it. You can read as much as you want in 30 days. It's been an ongoing resource, an ongoing helpful resource for me for years now, but that is where you can find the reality blog posts. And so again, that is www.wealthywebwriter.com. We can.
Okay, I want to zip through these. And first of all, for everyone that asked if the PowerPoint is going to be available, yes, we will include a link to it so that you can see all the slides again. And everybody will be able to re-listen to this as often as they'd like. Okay, Mindy, a couple people are saying, isn't the market saturated? Aren't you worried about that?
Oh gosh, no. And you know what's funny? That's what I was. Sorry, let me slow down. That's an exciting topic for me because I was absolutely worried about that when I first started. In fact, I met another copywriter who lives in Albuquerque, which is where I'm from, and he wanted to connect. And I thought, no, you're my competition. Why would I do that? But oh my goodness, when you think about all the websites out there, I can't remember the number, I'm sure it's in the trillions, and you think about all the ongoing content that so many businesses need, and so many businesses are really in need of decent content. Right now they just have, a lot of them have words, let's face it, that could be improved. Plus, you have to consider the fact that content is not static. So maybe you look at a website that has loads of blogs and articles and case studies and white papers and all the content that company might ever need. That's great for them right now, but they need to update it constantly. That's how they get found in the search engines. That's how they attract the attention of new buyers. They can't just sit on that content for years to come. So any business out there, which actually, is every business that needs a web presence, will benefit from different types of updated content. And even if a business has a great stable of copywriters right now, you might bring something new to the table that they've never had before, or a new approach to things, or new ideas. And I, to date, let's see, once I really started going and I really started understanding how to be a copywriter and how to market myself, I've had to turn away work. And, it's a pretty great position to be in. But to me, that speaks to the fact that, no, the market is not saturated.
No, it's not at all. I can speak to that, too. When you think about all the emails, all the websites, all the different campaigns and all the components that are part of just one campaign. I know in my position as executive director, I have marketers and presidents of companies contacting me constantly saying, need more writers. So that's not an issue. And the great thing is the more copy that's written, it just feeds the fire. The more that the more that's needed. So I wouldn't let that be a concern. Some people are asking about some different niches. Somebody's asked about the Christian niche. Somebody's asking about meditation. Somebody's asking about health, how international things are. Mindy, can you just speak briefly to that, the opportunities there?
Oh, well, Gosh, like some of the examples that I shared throughout the presentation, there are copywriters who have specialized in niches that I never before would have even imagined. When I first started copywriting, I thought of the main niches as health, financial, nonprofit, and religion, right? But if you think about every area in the world, every area of business where commerce is happening, as long as it's a stable industry, which you can research if you want to look at the, the revenue numbers for different areas, that can be a viable niche. I also know people who go into two niches, for instance. So maybe you're really passionate about, let's say, xeriscape gardening, but that's something that is only really done in the Southwest. There's not a huge market for it, so you use that as one of your niches, but then you go into something that's possibly more profitable in the rest of your time. You can do that. I know as far as international copywriting opportunities, Katie might be better able to speak to this, but
it's really the same. And the thing to think about is wherever people are having a conversation about something, wherever there's a group, there's a community, there's a group of people that are interested in one topic, chances are there's commerce happening there. And wherever there's commerce, that means they need sales material, they need copywriting in whatever form that it takes. So just think about that way. Think about all the e-letters you subscribe to, magazines, all the companies you buy for, all the websites you visit, all the forums, anything that you're interested in, any of your hobbies, any of your business experience. Those are all fertile grounds for copywriting activities. Somebody wants to know what a white paper is. And I'll just answer that real quick. It's similar to a case study. It's something that's used in that businesses use to sell to other businesses. A lot of times it maybe explains a piece of equipment or explains some new research or findings. It's more editorial writing than sales writing, but it's a very valuable piece of the marketing puzzle for a lot of companies, and they're very happy to pay writers to do that for them. Mindy, can people follow you on Facebook?
Yep, sure. You can find me at facebook.com/mindy.mchorse. So mindy.mchorse. You can also follow the Barefoot Writer directly, again at facebook.com and then Barefoot Writer Magazine. Facebook.com/Barefoot Writer Magazine.
Thank you. Fantastic. Okay. Oh my gosh. Lots of questions about the Barefoot Writer. And all I can say is it's a wonderful publication. It's a wonderful group. And like everything that we do at AWAI, it comes with a 100% year-long guarantee. Try it out. If it's not for you, then just let us know. No harm, no foul. It's just easier for you to actually just see it for yourself than for us to go on about it, especially since we're not objective. Mindy, somebody wants to know how you manage your time. Okay, let's manage your time with your answer.
Okay. Well, what's funny? A lot of you saw that picture of me in my office where I'm holding my youngest child, and you probably noticed that I had 3 big computer screens, which raises a lot of eyebrows when people walk in. But I do that for a very specific reason. I used to have all the time in the world before I had kids, and I was not a very productive person. Now that I have very limited time, I'm able to be productive because 2 of my screens are connected to just one computer, and a lot of writers find that switching to 2 screens, it's amazing how it increases your productivity. The 3rd screen, it's actually hooked up to my old slow computer. It's only for one purpose only, and that's where I pull up an online time tracker. I use toggle.com, and obviously I could do that on my regular computer, but I like having it basically right there in my face where I'm able to see how long I'm spending on my tasks, whether I'm making the most efficient use of the time that I've allotted for writing that day. This doesn't mean that I charge per hour, because it's much more lucrative to charge per project, but what helps me really stay on task and stay productive is to know exactly how I'm using my time every day and whether I'm making the most of every hour. So I highly recommend those online time trackers. They're free, so they're great.
Okay, people want to know about fees and fee charts and what to charge. I recommend going to awaionline.com. Go to our article archive and just in the search bar put in copywriting rates, fees, what to charge, put in any of those kind of terms, and you'll get a wealth of information that's going to help you. A couple people are asking, what is SEO? SEO is search engine optimization, and that means having your copy, having keywords within your website or your copy so that it ranks high on Google when somebody searches for it. This is not something that you need to know as a copywriter. It's not something that you're charged with. Oftentimes, companies have people that specialize just in that, and they'll take your copy and do what they need to do, so I wouldn't get hung up on that. Let me see. Okay, okay, let's get down to it here. You know, how much can somebody make, and how quickly? I'm trying to explain in my quick answers that this is not an overnight thing, and you do need to learn the skills. You need to learn there's an architecture, there's a structure, but it is very learnable. And Mindy, why don't you just talk about your experience? You know, we've seen people do this quickly, and we've seen people, you know, take the long road. It's very dependent on a lot of things that are really up to you. But Mindy, why don't you just say how
Sure.
your income trajectory was? Tell us about that.
Absolutely. I think. Let me see, I'm coming up with the short answer, really. I can tell you from my personal experience and from networking with lots of other copywriters that it's very easy to get excited, put yourself out there, and just leap at the first person who says that they're willing to hire you. And I did that, and I landed some decent jobs that paid me a little bit of money, and it's very validating when you're first earning money for any kind of writing. But if you want to make this a long-term career and you want to earn the big fees without having to put in tons and tons of hours, then it is a very smart thing to go about it methodically. For me, the reason, because I've thought about this a lot, the reason I was able to be so successful the year that I launched the reality blog, it's basically 4 reasons. First, I made a goal. I made this public goal that I was going to earn 6 figures, and I was focused on that every single day. So start by making a goal. Doesn't have to be 6 figures, absolutely not. But every other writer I know who's set a goal with a timeline, you want to pair it with a timeline, that's going to get you a lot further, a lot faster than just saying you want to make a living as a writer. Second, write every day. I had to do when I launched my blog because, you know, the blog needed posts every day. So I actually became a much better writer over the course of the year simply because I was writing every day. Number 3, network with other writers. It's amazing what a great support system they are. And whether you have that support system at home or not, hopefully you do, but you still, it's invaluable getting the support from other people who understand your passion to write or who understand the industry and can direct you in different ways that might save you some time or some trouble. So setting a goal, writing every day, connecting with other writers. Oh, and then the 4th thing is just putting yourself out there. You know, it can be very scary. Writing can be very personal, but this is an industry that is alive and kicking. And, you know, I know so many wonderfully nice people who will be more than happy to help you out and give you advice, especially, you know, if you're a member of the Barefoot Writers Club and you have access to our Facebook group that's only exclusive for members. That's the best place where a lot of new writers go, and they say, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. Here's my first website. Is it ridiculous? Am I okay? Getting that support right away because you've put yourself out there, that's going to get you further faster than just hoping that it'll work, you know?
Great. And Mindy, it did take, you know, how much did you make your first year?
My very first year, $17,000.
17, and then the next year?
$4,000.
The next year?
100,508, I think.
So for Mindy, it was a 3-year journey. You know, there are people that have done it in a year. I think that's on the rarer side. You know, the majority of people, it does take, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get to where they want to be. And the other thing that I found is that it's not even necessarily a big money goal. It's the freedom. And what this does is it allows you to create the life that's going to give you that kind of freedom, so that you have more options, you have more time freedom. So where the money isn't even the most important thing. If you're doing, you know, what you love with the people that you love in the circumstances and surroundings that you love, then, you know, that's a very, very valuable benefit from this. Oh my gosh, there's so many questions. Okay, let's see. People that are interested in the accelerated program, please go to awaionline.com and you'll find everything that you need about that. Let's see. Oh, we're getting lots of thank yous, so that's really nice. People are asking some tax questions too. I guess it's that time of year. Again, that's not something that we would give advice on. We do have some information about it, again, on our website. If you go to the article archive and you search it, you put it in the search bar, you know, about setting up your business and taxes and things like that. There's some information there. Mindy, are you a LLC or a corporation or?
An LLC, but that's only been in my last 3 years. I was able to be just a sole proprietor for the first couple years. You can do it so many different ways, but like Katie said, your best resource is going to be a tax advisor in your state or your country.
Exactly, exactly, and how you want to set up the business. Let me see here. What else can I? So I'm trying to get as many as possible. Okay. These are all so good. I have an interest in health. Yep, there's a huge opportunity in health. There's a huge opportunity in spirituality. Mindy, somebody's asking, how aggressive do you actually have to be as far as finding clients? I think that might be something that's on people's minds. So how would you speak to that?
Oh gosh, well, I am the least aggressive person that you can find. So it works both ways, or either way, I should say. You can go out and, you know, make tons of lists of different clients that you want to target, and you can contact them individually, and you can have great success that way. Or you can take the passive approach, which was my preferred method, where I started out by just going to a jobs board, picking and choosing what I was interested in. Once I got clients from there, I got referrals that led to other clients. Some of my clients are long-term clients, and I've stuck with them. And I've gone to live events like boot camp where there are basically marketers that come to me. So it really fits your personality. I don't recommend doing something you're not comfortable with. I once tried cold calling, and I stumbled over my own name, which was so embarrassing. I never called the person back. So you don't have to be aggressive. You just have to be persistent, or not persistent, consistent.
Great. Okay, another thing that's coming up a few times here. Well, first of all, somebody wants to understand what a spec is. And a spec is when you are sending something to a potential client on where you haven't been paid to do it yet. You're sending it as a way to get a relationship started. And the idea being that if they like it, if they want to use it, if they want to work with you, they'll pay you then. It's almost given a little bit like a free sample. You know, there are different schools of thoughts on it. I certainly have seen it work for many people. The other question that I'm seeing here, people are concerned about, what if somebody steals your idea, or what if somebody doesn't pay you? And Mindy, what would you say to those concerns?
Well, it depends on the client, and it depends on your comfort level. If you are targeting a client that you know works with copywriters on a regular basis. Maybe they're, in a way, they're a vetted and trusted client because they're either a marketer that's on the AWAI jobs page, or they come to the live events. They can often, you can assume, but I don't want to say this is a hard and fast rule, you can assume somebody who works with copywriters, they already have a structure in place, they value copy, they'll pay you. Some copywriters will put together a contract that has to be signed and sealed before they're willing to do any kind of work. Sometimes that's what you'll do the first time you connect with a new client, but after you establish a relationship, then you can just use emails on an ongoing basis. And there are business professionals who will advise you in every different direction. I'm a big fan of going with your gut, because if you're not somebody who likes to be waylaid by lots of legal documents, then if you feel like you can trust a client, then you can put yourself out there. Sometimes it's a risk, sometimes you're perfectly fine.
I just from my experience, I've been in this business for 30 years, and probably in all those years I've heard of maybe, on one hand I can count how many times writers haven't been paid, or that this kind of thing has happened. It's just not that kind of industry. And I think it does come from the fact that copywriters are so valued and so respected and so needed. It's not in a company's best interest to screw you out of for one small job, because if they like your writing, they're going to want you to write more. And so obviously, and for you to write more, it has to be good and beneficial for you. So, I wouldn't let things like that worry you or stop you, unless you have listen to your gut. Unless there's something that doesn't feel right, then you just don't do it. And that's another thing I hear a lot too, is like, well, I'm not a salesperson, or I don't want to sell things that I don't believe in. Well, then don't. There's so many fish in the sea, and there's so many clients that need you, that you don't ever have to do a project or work for a company, or be involved in anything that you're not comfortable with. That's a real beauty of this business. And let's see, people are asking about the job board. It is directresponsejobs.com. www.directresponsejobs.com. You do need to either be a Barefoot Writer member, or this is a private closed job board for AWAI members and our affiliated companies. So you may not be able to get to that if you're not part of the group. Let's see. People are asking again about specific niches like pharmaceuticals and things. There are as many niches as you can think of. There are opportunities there. Wherever there's a conversation that you can add to, that's a place to start. And if you bring something to the conversation, go for it. You just reach out to them. And people are asking about business cards. Honestly, the most important letter that you'll write is perhaps the first email that you send to a potential client. That shows that it should be a showcase for your persuasive writing skills. You want to you want to think about a benefit for whoever's reading it. You want to make them a promise. You want to give them proof that you can deliver on this promise, and you want to have them take an action. So think about, that's more important than, say, a business card. It would be writing a great email to somebody, offering to write for them and offering to solve a problem for them, because that's what they're looking for. That's what's going to get their attention. So if you think about all your interactions with potential clients as wonderful selling opportunities, wonderful opportunities for you to use your persuasive writing skills. If you approach it in that way, I think I think it's more fun, and I think you'll have better success. Do we teach writing skills? The Barefoot Writer doesn't necessarily, there is some teaching involved, but it's more introducing you to different opportunities, introducing you to different people who are doing it. There's a lot of motivation. There's a lot of tips and strategies, and it's wonderful for that. To really learn the skills, that's more on the that's the accelerated program for six-figure copywriting. That teaches you that architecture that I just mentioned. That teaches you, how to write a good headline, how to figure out how to actually speak to your prospect, how to include proof and go through the whole persuasive argument. That's where we really focus on, okay, now that you have the skills, here's how you build your business. Here's how you get your first client. Here's how you turn that into something more. And some people are saying that they had bought the accelerated program a while ago, and they're wondering if it's still active. And yes, all of our programs are called living programs, meaning that once you buy it, and as long as you haven't canceled, it's yours for life. And any updates that we do are included in that. So if you bought the accelerated program a while ago, I would definitely check it out again, because chances are we've updated it since you've last seen it. Okay, the accelerated program it's online. It's presented online. People are asking that, and it's self-paced. So you can do it as quickly or take as much time as you need. Let me see. I think that's it. Mindy, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I agree with everything you've said, and I just encourage you all, if any questions come up, you go to bed tonight and you wake up with a burning question tomorrow morning, please feel free to reach out, because I've been in your shoes, and I know what it's like to be on the brink of this and wanting to, and just not really being sure, but now that I'm on the other side, it's just so worth it. And so if there's anything that I can do to help, or any questions I can pass along to Katie or any of the other barefoot writer groups that I work with, please please let us help you. We would love to.
Fantastic. And thank you, Mindy, and thank you, Writer's Digest. It's been a real pleasure to share our passion with you all today. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.